dressed as Charon, would hit him with a mallet. The gladiatorial combat probably dates back to the Etruscans or Samnites, who made prisoners fight to the death during the funerals of aristocrats. It perhaps served as a kind of substitute for old human sacrifices. The Roman Emperor Gaius, nicknamed Caligula after a type of military boot, tried to make his horse a consul, which was the most important job in the government. He also dressed in women's clothes, presented himself as a god, had incestuous relations with his sisters, and had a habit of giving the manly Praetorian guards watchwords like, "Kiss me quick." In battle, Romans sometimes grouped together and held their shields all around them in a move called the tortoise. Most Roman aqueducts were over 55 feet high. Their great height not only controlled the flow of water, but also made it more difficult for someone to steal water and for enemies to poison in it. The Roman aqueduct of Segovia was built of stones with no mortar and is still used to carry water today. In AD 64, a huge fire destroyed half of Rome. Some claim Nero purposely set it so he could rebuild the city how he wanted. The saying, "fiddling while Rome burns," comes from the story that Nero played his lyre while Rome burned. The Roman days were divided into 12 hours, measured by a sundial. The Monte Testaccio is a vast, non-biodegradable garbage dump where an estimated 53 million amphorae ceramic vases were thrown. It is one of the largest and most organized dumps found anywhere in the ancient world. Roman coins were used to publicize the emperor, his achievements, and his family in a world with no mass media. Some scholars speculate that pagan Romans would have been happy to add Christ to their list of gods, and that some did. The Christians, however, would have none of it. The Romans had gods for doors, forculus, hinges, cafdea, and thresholds, limentinus. The early Romans thought Christians were literally practicing some sort of cannibalism when the word was out that they consumed bread and wine as symbolic representations of the body and blood of Christ. The diet of ordinary Romans consisted mostly of starchy food and did not include many green vegetables, fresh meat, or fats. Hence, many children suffered from malnutrition. At its peak, Rome included more than 1 million people. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the city's population fell dramatically to less than 50,000 people. In 2007, there were over 2.7 million people living in the Greater Rome area. In order to escape her forced engagement to a senator, the Emperor Valentinian II's sister Honorius sent Attila the Hun her engagement ring as a plea for help in the spring of AD 450. He interpreted it as a marriage proposal and demanded Rome as a dowry. Rome's last emperor was Romulus Augustus, whose name recalls both the founder of Rome and Rome's first emperor. He was deposed by Odoacer, the leader of the barbarians. Theories as to why Rome fell include political weakness and corruption, immorality, Christian pacifism and superstition, racial mixing, class conflict, environmental problems, a divided capital, Rome and Constantinople, plagues, and mass migrations of wild Germanic people. Another theory is that water supplied by lead pipes caused widespread health problems, including brain damage and Some scholars speculate that Rome never fell, it just adapted to a changing world. After the fall of Rome, the Colosseum became overgrown with exotic plants. Seeds had inadvertently been transported with the wild animals that were used for fighting. During the Middle Ages, it became a fortress for the city's two warrior families. If not for the painstaking work of the medieval monks who copied and illustrated the works of Roman writers and philosophers, many keystones of Western culture would have been lost forever. Founder of classical humanism, Petrarch, 1304 to 1374, discovered many manuscripts from ancient Rome, and by the 15th century, Florentines were modeling their embattled republic on the Roman Republic. During the Renaissance, Rome was second only to Florence as the major force of influence. Now assumed to be an ancient Roman manhole cover or part of a first-century statue, past generations thought Rome's mouth of truth, La Boca della Verita, to be a sort of ancient lie detector. Allegedly, it would cut off a person's hand if it was placed in the mouth while the person spoke a lie. Later, priests in the Middle Ages would put scorpions in it to help perpetuate the myth. The mouth of truth also appeared in the film